well, and I also trust that you had a good day. All right, so for today, we will be doing our grade 3 English lesson on regular past tense. So we'll be doing a grade 3 lesson on 3 English lesson on regular past tense. All right, so before we start, we're going to log in to aplusstudents.ca, and we're going to log in with our username as well as our password. And then we're going to select the subject of language arts. And then we go to grade 3. All right, so once we are by grade 3, we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of regular past tense, right? And under the chapter of regular past tense, we are going to focus on the lessons of identify verbs in the regular past tense, which sentence is in the regular past tense, and form and use the regular past tense, right? So that is going to be our focus lessons for today. All right, so we're going to start with the first one, which is identify verbs in the regular past tense. All right, here we are. So we need to identify verbs in the regular past tense, right? So before we identify the verbs in the regular past tense, we can say that the past tense, it usually tells us about something that has happened already, right? So it already happened. And then we have regular past tense, right? Regular past tense verbs, it ends in ed, right? Pardon. So past tense usually tells us about something that has already happened. It happened already. And then regular past tense verbs, they end in ed, right? For example, we washed the car a few days ago, right? So washed. What did you do? Washed. And we end in ed, the car a few days ago. So we basically added the ed to our verb, right? And then it is a regular past tense verb. So wash, washed, right? So regular past tense, it ends in ed, which is, for example, washed, jogged, baked, played, and so on. All right, so now we need to identify or select the past tense verb. I jogged around the block. I jogged around the block, right? If we identify the or select the past tense within that verb, within that sentence, right? And then we can say jogged is our past tense verb, right? Jogged. So the past tense verb is jogged, and also we can say that jog ends in ed, right? And it tells us about something that has already happened. He jogged, or I jogged around the block. It could have been earlier on, could have been yesterday, could have been the day before, could have been last week, last month, and so forth, right? But I jogged around the block. So jogged is our past simple verb. Who baked this delicious cake? We need to select the past tense verb. Who baked this delicious cake? So if we select, right, the past tense verb, then we can say baked. That also ends in ed. So baked is our past tense verb. And as you can see, bake ends in ed. Who turned up the music? Who turned up the music? So if we select the past in verbs, then we can say turned. So who turned up the music? Turned is our regular past tense verb, and it ends in ed, and it tells us what has happened already, right? Turned up the music. All right. Dale emptied the box of cookies onto the plate. We need to select the regular past tense verbs. Dale emptied the box of cookies onto the plate. If we are going to select the past tense verb, then we can say he emptied. So emptied is our past tense verb within that sentence. The dog wagged its tail. Wagged its tail, the dog. If we select the past tense verb, then we can select it as wagged. So wagged its tail. And then the father dried the baby after her bath. The father dried the baby after her bath. So we need to select the past tense verb within that sentence. All right, so basically the father tried. Tried is our past tense verb. So tried is the past tense verb within that sentence. All right, let's do a little test. Right, remember we said that with regular past tense verb, we basically add an ed to the verb, right? To show that it has happened already or it already happened. She tried something new. We need to select the past tense verb. Is it something or is it tried? Something or tried? All right, so if we select the past tense verb, then we can say tried. So she tried. Pancho attacked the math test. We need to select the past tense verb. Is it attacked or is it math? Attacked or math? So if we choose the correct past tense verb, we can say attack. Attacked. Not forgetting the ed. Attacked. And it shows it's in the past tense. Who turned up the music? Right? Is it turned or is it music? That's the past tense verb. All right, so if we select the past tense verb, then we can say turned, right? And the home run astonished everyone. The home run astonished everyone. Is it astonished or is it home? We need to select the past tense verb. So if we select the correct past tense verb, we can say astonished. All right, let's go back. So that is identifying verbs in the regular past tense, right? So now we're going to move on to which sentence is in the regular past tense. Which sentence is in the regular past tense? So once again, the past tense, it usually tells us about something that has already happened, right? It has already happened. Then we have regular past tense verbs that ends in ed, right? And we made an example of we washed the car a few days ago. So washed is our regular past tense verb, right? And as you can see, it also ends in ed, right? It also ends in ed. So washed. So wash is our verb. But if we want to show that something has happened in the past, then we can say washed, right? Washed. So we washed the car a few days ago, right? So this is the past tense. So we basically just need to find the past tense or select the past tense verb within either a sentence. And we say that the word ends in ed, right? The word ends in ed. All right. If we look at our first sentence, right? It asks which sentence is in the past tense. The rabbit escaped from her cage. So the rabbit escaped from her cage, right? Which means that this is in the past tense because the word escaped, right? It gives us an indication that it has happened already, right? And they also have an ed, right? We need to select the past tense, the sentence in the past tense. We arrived late. We arrived late, which means that arrived is the correct word within that sentence, right? Arrived. So we arrived late. So arrived is our past tense verb, and that verb it ends in ed, right? And it basically tells us something that has happened already, right? Which means it arrived, right? She arrived or we arrived late, right? I chopped chopped carrots, right? Chopped carrots. And chopped, it ends in ed, right? And that means that it already shows the regular past tense verb, right? So ed is an indication that it is a regular past tense, right? And the past tense, it usually tells something that has happened already. So I chopped carrots. So chop, chopped, right? All right, let's go to the test. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to say which sentence is in the past tense, right? Henry clapped his hands. Russell will complete the test. So if we select the sentence in the past tense, right? Is it option one, which is Henry clapped his hands, or option two, which is Russell will complete the test? All right, so in the past tense, we can say Henry clapped his hands. All right, and also as you can see, clapped, it ends in an ed, right? To show the past tense form. It has happened already. Which sentence is in the past tense? The woman curls her hair, or the dog dragged the cat, right? Keeping in mind also that when we have a regular past tense verb, pardon, we add ed, or at least the basic ones. So the woman curls her hair and the dog dragged the kite. All right, so if we were select the sentence that is in the past tense, we would go with the dog dragged the cat. The God allowed us in, and Anne will earn the money. So the God allowed us in, and Anne will earn the money. All right, so if we select the correct one, we will say the God allowed us in, because there we even have the word allowed ending in ed. Carrie dipped brushes into paint. Dipped brushes into paint. Or Gabe will sort the books. So if we select the correct regular past tense, then we will say dipped, which is Carrie dipped brushes into paint. And the word dipped over there ending in ed shows that it happened in the past. And then the clown amused us. And the next one is I often borrow Kayla's pen. So we need to choose the correct past tense, right? So we're going to go with the clown amused us. So amused is also that word that ends in ed. All right. So that is basically which sentence is in the regular past tense, right? Sentence that is in the regular past tense. So far we have identified verbs in the regular past tense and we said it ends in ed, and we have mentioned which sentence is in the regular past tense, right? So now for the last one, we're going to read form and use the regular past tense. All right. Victor and Nate. We need to choose a word. Victor and Nate. So we can say folded the clothes in the bedroom. Folded. So folded is our correct past tense verb within that sentence. Folded. So Victor and Nate folded their clothes in the bedroom. The friends. The friends, right? According to traded marbles with one another. And traded also ends in ed. Folded is in ed, and it basically shows the regular past tense form, right? Jill's parents allowed her to stay up late. So allowed ending in ed. Allowed. So we can even see that allowed, it ends in ed, right? So these are but a few words, right, where we form and use regular past tense. Sorry, and we also say that with regular past tense, our word, or let's say our verb or action word, it ends in ed, right? It ends in ed. So folded being the first one. Victor and Ned folded their clothes in their bedroom. Then we have traded. The friends traded marbles with one another. Then we have allowed. Jill's parents allowed her to stay up late. Right? So these are words which is verbs within the past tense ending in ed. All right. So now we're going to go to our little test. So we need to complete the sentence, right? With the verb in the past tense, right? On warm evenings, is it we dine outside? or we dined outside. Because remember, it also needs to show the past tense, right? The past tense. And we said with the past tense, it ends in an ed. Ed. So, is it dine outside or dined outside? All right. So, if we want it to be in the regular past tense, then we can say, on warm evenings, we dined outside. Dined. Tammy's parents, is it allow or allowed her to stay up late? Not forgetting it is in the regular past tense. All right, which means that we are going to say allowed. Allowed. Oopsie. So we say allowed, which is ALLOWED. All right. The friends, is the friends trade marbles with one another, or they traded models with one another? Remember, we need to keep in mind that this is the regular past tense verb, which means that we need to write something in the past, right? So my friends, we can say traded marbles with one another, right? And traded ending in ed. And then we have traded. Good. On the crowded on the crowded train, I is glanced at my watch, or I glance at my watch. So on the crowded train, I glanced at my watch or glance at my watch. We need to select the correct one, or let's say the correct past tense verb. All right, so if we were to put it in the past tense, then we can say glanced, which ends in ed. So glanced. All right. The cooks, is it boil water for tea, or the cooks boiled water for tea? We need to select the correct one to complete the sentences. Is it boil or boiled? So we're gonna, if we choose it in the regular past tense, then we can say boiled because it ends in ed. All right, one more. So we need to complete the sentence with the verb in the past tense. We divide or divided the extra cookies amongst three of us. Is it divide or divided? So we need to choose the correct one. So we will say divided. All right. All right. So basically, so far, this is the regular past tense, right? And with the regular past tense, right, we say that the regular past tense, it shows things or something that has happened already in the past, right? And with regular past tense, we basically just add an ed in order to change that word, right? We add an ed. So now let us go to our activities. All right. So with the past tense, right? Regular verbs, they say there are different rules that you also need to follow, right? And the examples of these rules and pronunciations, right, it changes or differs, right? So, say for example, play. If we have a word play and we change that word into a regular past tense verb, then play basically just changes to played because an et was just added to that word to show that it is in the past tense. So, play, played, right? Then we have the same with like. Because like ends in an E, we can still add another ED, right? So we basically just added a D. So like and now like. Cry, right? Cry. So what happens here with cry, right, is that whenever we write it or we mention it within the regular past tense verb, then cry. The consonant Y in cried, right? It then falls away and we add the IED. So now it shows cried, right? And then we have stopped. So stopped is where there's a double P, right? Which means that we added a P, E, and a D. All right. So here we have another list of the different past tense, right? As well as the spellings. So say for example, watch, right? Because remember we're only focusing on regular past tense verbs, right? So watch. So watch is our infinite or just our normal verb, right? But now the past tense, the regular past tense verb of watch is watched, which means that we basically just added an ed, right? So watched, right? And the same with play. We have play and then we have played, right? So both of these we added an ed. And the general rule for that is to just add an ed. That is now with watch and with play. Then like and arrive, right? So if we write those words in the past, regular past tense, then it means that we are basically just going to add a D. Because earlier on I mentioned if the word already ends in an E, right, then all we're going to do is add a D because we cannot still add ED to that word, right? Because it already ends with an E. And the rule is after the E, you just add a D, right? After the E. That is not only if that verb ends with a Let's say with an E. Then we have study and try. Study and try. Right? So what happens in this case where we have the example study is study, right? And tries try, right? So in order for us to write this in the regular past tense, then it means that we need to drop the y and then we need to add ies. The same with try. Try, we drop the y and we add ied, right? Ied, because now it shows tried or studied, right? So which means that after the consonant, right, is y, we delete the y and we add the led. And that is the regular past tense, right? And this is then just again a few past tense irregular verbs where they're talking about the words in the past tense and then they're giving the past tense affirmation. So asking is asked, ed. So most of these words we basically just add an ed to it. Most. And that shows the regular past tense. All right, so now we're going to do a little activity with the past simple tense. Past simple tense. So the words that is given to us, right, is they say for most verbs we add ed at the end of the word for past tense, right? We are going to add these past tense verbs to complete the sentences. So the words that we have in the box is called, washed, walked, opened, kicked, cooked, watched, and jumped. All right. So we're going to select one of these and put it within the sentences, right? So I what the ball, right? So I what the ball, something that they did with the ball. So we can then say I kicked the ball. So kicked, consider me. Right. Let me put it next to it. I'm gonna put it next to it. So he walked to school. Either he called, washed, walked, opened, kicked, cooked, watched, and jumped. So we can say he walked to school. She walked the door. We the dishes. So we wash the dishes on a Sunday. Washed. And then we have you what television. Watched television. Watched. And they dinner. Is they cooked dinner. Cooked. Right? So these are then basically just the regular simple past tense, right? And remember it ends in ed, right? So it ends in ed. So kicked, worked, opened, washed, watched, and cooked, right? These are the simple regular past tense verbs. All right, we're going on to the next one. All right. If we look at the next one, right, it says past tense verb endings in ed, right? We need to write each verb in the past tense. So if we look at the first word, right, walk, if we write that word in the past tense, it will be just with a D, which is walked. Jump. So jump and jumped. Oopsie, let me just fix that one. So jumped. Talk. Talk. We need to write that word talk in the regular past tense. So talk and talked. And then we have watch and watched. Look and looked. Laugh, laughed. Right? And then we have like, liked, finished. And then we have completed and we have chased. Right? So those are words in the past tense. And we said words with regular past tense, right? It shows that something had happened already, right? It happened already. And with the regular verbs, we can then say that it ends in ed, right? It ends in ed. Of course, if the word ends with an E, then we just add a D. All right. So basically, this is now we have basically reached the end of our lesson when it comes to regular past tense verbs or regular past tense. Um, we mentioned that regular past tense, it shows something that had happened already. It happened already. And many, we add an ed to that specific word. So, grade threes, this is now the end of our lesson on regular past tense. You should have an amazing evening, brother. Goodbye.